What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Savage Land. Welcome. And welcome to the top 10 most disappointing G.I. Joe classified figures of 2023, man. And it's been a wonderful, great year for G.I. Joe. A buffet of Joes. And I think I have enough traction this year. I've been on YouTube this year for a full year, I would consider. At least try to drop a video every week, or 2 or 3 videos a week, and I've gotten some sort of consistency, I guess I would say. So I got quite a traction on the G.I. Joe, and plus G.I. Joe has picked up. I believe I heard in another YouTuber's video that they have dropped 66 figures, and I was saying the physical year, because around this time last year we were looking for the Outback, old man Outback waves from Target. I think those were in the 40s, 50s, and now we're like 116. So they put out quite a bit of figures. So I think I have enough traction and brought enough figures to do a top 10 disappointing G.I. Joe classifieds of 2023, and then I also have enough figures to drop a top 10 G.I. Joe classified of 2023. And of course, I'm gonna drop the top 10 of G.I. Joe classified on Christmas Eve, give you something to go to sleep, watch Christmas Eve from the Savage Land. And then also on Christmas Day, we'll be doing a personnel video of this big pretty Cobra army that we have in front of you. So pretty much do a count of how many troops, how many head personnel, bosses, shall we say, in the Cobra army, man. And just basically just take a look at my army and just do a personnel count, man, on Christmas Day. And then sometime around New Year's Eve, we'll do the top 20 action figures of 2023, man. That's the way I kind of like to do it. I think I buy enough figures to do a top 20 action figures, and that's what it's going to be. But with no further ado, let's get into the top 10 most disappointing G.I. Joe classifieds of 2023. All right, let's get into number 10. And I will say with this list, a disclaimer, basically disappointing for me is whether, of course, plastic, face sculpt, or just a situation around it. I'll go ahead and include that. And you're probably saying, like, what are these guys doing in your top 10 disappointing G.I. Joe classified figures? Because I've heard nobody literally complain about them. But the one thing they did complain about them was the rollout on these guys. It sucked, okay? It wasn't good for the fans. You got a Cobra Ill, a classic army builder that's pretty much around one of the first army builders for Cobra besides the Cobra Trooper, and you put them on an Amazon exclusive, and then you did it like I wouldn't say a sneaky way, but if you wasn't a Raptor like me and the other guys that's on this and up on the G.I. Joe classified, you wouldn't have known it came. It came in a day and it left, and it never came back. I'm sitting up telling people like, yeah, it'll come back, and the Amazon exclusives usually do. And maybe it will at a funky time when they put out a retro card of it, and now you got the Amazon exclusive on some crazy shit. But it was a funky way to do it. It wasn't good for the fans, and a lot of people didn't get to experience this great action figure. It had great weapons, great articulation about it, but it's not to gloat on it right now. This is about the most disappointing thing about it, is that nobody can really get in hand. It's almost like Big Ben and the Range Viper right now. I'm going through the same situation on the opposite end, where I don't see those guys around, don't know when they're going to come back around. Walmart is like scary to deal with right now, as far as online. So you just don't know. And this is the number 10. Great figure. That's why he's at number 10. He's not deep in it, but the very disappointing with the rollout on these guys, and it takes number 10 spot. Cobra Eels. All right, at the number 9 spot, we got a real controversial one, I guess, for many. But me, I thought Shipwreck was disappointing, and I'll tell you why. He's number 9. As you see, he's not deep in the list. He's actually still a great action figure. Let's not get it twisted. And the mug on him is not bad. But Shipwreck could have been a real rock star. And I think they dropped the ball on him somewhere. He just doesn't have that oomph that I'm looking for, that rock and roll has. And I said it before he came out, like, yo, he has the potential to be like a rock star. This is Shipwreck. And he just doesn't seem rough enough. He doesn't seem tough enough. He doesn't seem buff enough. I mean, Shipwreck was never considered a big guy, but he had a big chest. You know who he looks like? He looks like Andrew Garfield as like a cartoon character playing Shipwreck. And he's more on the cartoony side with his face sculpt. It's not a bad face sculpt, but it just doesn't give you that Shipwreck. And almost looks a little kind of too young for Shipwreck. This guy like he's 29. Shipwreck looked like he was more like 39. And then also they dropped the ball on Polly, man. Polly is more in a line that has great animals. Polly's more just like an accessory. Any other animal in the G.I. Joe line is more like another action figure. Junkyard and Mutt, Snake Eyes and Timber, Freedom and Spirit, Fiona. You know what I'm saying? You want to army build them. You want more of those animals just to have those animals. And Polly has been 20 feet tall. Polly has been 2 inches tall. And this bird right here is just a prop on his shoulder. No wingspan, no extra attachments. And that's what I'm saying. He's not a rock star. And he was very disappointing to me. Number 9, Shipwreck. Number 8. Looks like we might have another controversial one. A lot of heart jerker for a lot of people. But the original Outback with the green fatigues, white survival shirt. Once again, failed potential to top its predecessor, which is in the old days was the one that came after on UK market in the old man Outback, the orange shirt. But that old man Outback, he's a straight up rock star. He's legendary to me in the classified line. He really blew me away. That is a man's action figure right there. Old man Outback. This guy is good, but the paint applications, what a difference does it make? And then for one thing, look at this right here. Look at this. That fucking elbow. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. It almost looks like it belongs to a different figure. Why? Why? But it shows you right there, this is a QC issue. Then this the face. It's just a little too bubbly. Maybe old man Outback really just ate the cake with this guy. But once again though, this is still a solid figure. Don't get it twisted. Articulation. Plastic feels a little good, but even the weapons don't even hit the same really. So it's just a totally almost different figure to me, and it just doesn't meet that bar of rock star status. And I'll do you one more and set old man Outback right here up against him, and you tell me which one looks better. That old man Outback, look, he's a rock star, man. He's a rock star, man. So they really dropped the ball with it, and you didn't really have to do too much, but you went below bar. You got different plastic on the elbows. Your paint applications just not hitting like the old man Outback. Doesn't have enough intensity in his face. If you can see real into his arm, like just, he looks like he has red Cheeto dust on there. That doesn't look like hair, man. So, yeah, number 8 on the most disappointing G.I. Joe classified, original Outback. All right, so we got a whole bunch of heart tuggers here. This one tugs at the heart for me. Number 7 on the list, Crimson Alley Viper. A lot of people like this figure. I actually like it too. But this one suffers from gummy plastic. Kind of almost like a gift and a curse, because the gummy plastic makes it more easier to stand up and move around than the original. The original was very hard and brittle, had kind of like ratchets in the ankle where it would miss, where actually the feet could sit level. So it's a bitch for me to stand that original, but that's my favorite army build. I love the Alley Viper. That's what I had when I was a kid. And I'm just more fond of that one. But I actually like the colorway on this one. This one is a dope figure. But the plastic is so gummy that the elbow joints are really weak. Like, I hate that. Like, look at that. That's bad right there. I don't like that. This one doesn't have it, but I came with a busted back right here on one of them. Just some soft plastic with the peg being out. Had a big old gap right there. So, full of QC issues. And like I said before, the shield, you couldn't do the first one like that. It's still hard, but you're not supposed to bend that at all, man. So they really kind of dropped the ball on this one with me as far as QC quality issues with this. And just going with a cheaper plastic, man. So it meets number 7 on my list. Crimson Alley Viper. All right, number 6 on my list is once again part of that Crimson Army. I don't know what was going on over in the Crimson factory, but QC issues galore. Crimson Viper, not a huge fan of the not Crimson Viper, Crimson Bat, I'm sorry, excuse me, Crimson Bat, not a huge fan of the Crimson Bat, but the original Bat made me really like the action figure. When I first seen these, I was like, ooh, crimson bats. Really like that. Red is one of my favorite colors. So when I seen this and I started seeing the reviews come in, because I had no plans of jumping on this when it first came out back in March. I just seen a lot of QC issues with wonkiness. What is wonkiness? Well, that's a word that YouTubers made up when we don't like the toys and they moving kind of funny, wonky. But no, it had a lot of loose jiggly wiggly in it. Real loose, you know, like somebody's already played with it. And I hate that. I think, I don't know, man. I don't know if I would like my figures tight or loose like that. Haven't ever had a huge problem with this figure, but to be a potential real standout, and I believe a first time in the line, I'm not too sure. I don't know if the 25th anniversary did this, and I'm talking about the G.I. Joe line, just period, the franchise, a crimson bat. But all of them are like that. I have 5, 6 of them that I opened. Every last one of them have loose problems. Now, I've opened major amount of figures at one time. Original Cobra Army, never a lot of really QC issues that. My Alley Vipers, the original, not a lot of QC issues with that. But once that second or third year came around, when you started doing reprints of figures and stamping the mold again, now that's when we started coming with this looseness, this wonkiness, this kind of cheapness on certain figures. And this figure right here, plastic feels pretty good, but the QC and the joints are very, very loose. And it gets the number 6 on my top 10 disappointing G.I. Joe classifieds. Number 5 on my list is one that I did a actual review on, and it's the original Firefly retro version, but not the original in the G.I. Joe classified line. This is actually V2. And in my video, I said V1 is greater than V2. There's a couple of things going on with V2 I don't like. For one, it just doesn't have enough quality into it as far as love and care. The fatigues, the gray print, and matter of fact, I got the original V1 right here. It's not like the original Firefly. Those fatigues were done with love and care. Okay, you can actually see the pattern in this. This guy looks great and dusty on the V2 version. Also, when you take his goggles off up under there's not enough intensity in his face. He's wide-eyed. You know, Firefly is not like that. This guy looks more like Storm Shadow or somebody. I don't like that. And then also he suffers from the wonkiness. This is real loose right here. I don't like that, and a lot of people came across that issue. I know it classified can be hit and miss, but it seemed like it was more hit than miss with this guy. I guarantee you this: if V1 was as girthy as V2, then this Firefly, the original one, I guarantee you would be better than this one. I think with the body mass really gets a lot of people with this, and then the big bulky vest. But if you took this vest away, gave him this body mass that this one got, look at that. The intensity in this one would definitely be a favorite, and that's why V2 gets number 5 on my most disappointing G.I. Joe classifieds of 2023. Number 4 is my boy Flint, Tiger Force Flint. I didn't even know they had a Tiger Force Flint. To me, I was kind of almost excited for this figure. And even when I seen it in the case at San Diego Comic-Con through the TV, I wasn't there personally, I thought this guy was pretty decent looking. I was like, wow, I like that take on it. I didn't even know they had a Tiger Force Flint, to be quite honest with you. Wasn't buying Joes then. I'm more of like a 89, 90 guy, 91, getting Joes. But he had so much potential to be a rock star. They could have took this figure to another level. And I know they were trying to kind of just counterpart on the original as far as how the greens look. But this face sculpt is just not getting it for me. Now, I will say this. The original, this is nothing but the original, but a repaint. And that's a good quality figure. I can still pose this guy around and move him. He's nice and hard. This before Hasbro's using the cheap plastic. But just the lack of effort for the face paint, which could have made him a rock star and just like a different type figure, that's what hurt him. Look how it ends on the side of the face. It's just real blocky. It's ugly. I hate it. And on top of that, they didn't give a new head sculpt, which they're gonna give a retro Flint. I know they are. But they didn't have to do that, but they at least could have took this to the next level. The shirt, more like a rust, or, you know, it's not orange. He would have benefited more with like a Tony the Tiger bright orange shirt with thicker tiger stripes. It's just lackluster tiger stripes that you barely see. And then the greens, I know this is supposed to be kind of more like retro, but this is classified. It's like a mix of retro and then classified new. They should have made the greens darker. Put more vibrant colors on them. Do a little bit more than the lackluster face paint that they put on them. I mean, it sucks, man. It sucks. And he could have been a real rock star, a real unique figure, but they didn't do that, man. It was just like, okay, we're gonna put this shit out. We'll know we'll eventually do a retro Flint, and they'll get it. And guess what, though? All these figures I'm talking about, they'll stand tall and ugly as hell on my shelf, man. Number 3, of course, Covergirl. You knew she was coming sometime or another. Actually, Covergirl to me wasn't bad. She had a couple of things going on with her, but this face sculpt was just resting bitch face, be honest with you. It's a total opposite of what they gave on the cover, which I've never seen Covergirl that bubbly in the G.I. Joe cartoon. Don't know how she's in the comic book, but that's how I was introduced to G.I. Joe. I was such a youngin'. The cartoon was more appealing. I wasn't even reading comic books. I'm talking about I'm 5, 6, 7 years old. But I like the way she looked. They should have did a retake on that. But this face doesn't say that at all. You know, and the eyes a little wonky, you know what I'm saying? So it's a little off, man. Some people had a problem with this arm joint, right? Actually, I didn't. You know, I know sometimes things get hit and miss, but there's other female figures that had problems with that arm joint, like coming off if you pulled it too much, but I didn't have that problem, man. I think my biggest thing with her is the face sculpt, and I hate the gappiness at her hip. I hate that, man. I hate when the drop down legs. Jodie Shooter is the only female figure I've seen from Classified so far that keeps that drop down hip tight when you pull it down. You don't see that huge gap. That's really ugly, man. That really looks like the figure has a QC issue or something with that wide gap there. Even to a certain extent, Helix has that gap when you pull it down. But Jodie Shooter, everybody raves over her. I think Helix is actually better than her, but I will say she's a nice, tight, Classified figure. The first I've seen that when you drop the legs down, at least on mine, there's no huge gaps. She kind of stays together real tight. But Covergirl, she could have been a lot more, especially in a line that doesn't have a lot of standout female characters that just have their own thing going on. There's only a handful of them, and they should have took that to the next level, and they didn't, man. And it just wasn't as advertised, to be honest with you. Number 3 on my list, Covergirl. Number 2 on my most disappointing G.I. Joe Classified figures of 2023, we got 2 people. We got a man and a woman. And it's the Steel Core 2-pack. I know about a month ago I was mad because I couldn't get them for $40, but in hindsight I wouldn't pay $40 for them. These are overhyped accessory pack. What you want out of this pack is the jetpacks and the little guns that they come with, but for the most part you want the jetpack and the blast effects. These figures right here are in-house kit bashes. Like, look at the male figure. His top part is way wider than his bottom part. It ain't nothing but a kit bash. Beachhead, and I believe Snake Eyes legs. And then the girl has like the old woman features, like with the single jointed arms, man. Like, how can somebody fly in a jetpack with single jointed? You know, anybody needs double jointed arms. And then when you try to regular kit bash them, because I wanted to kit bash the girl with a Lady J I got from Ollie's, you can't even do that because Lady J is kind of like the newer female body from Scarlet. So the ball joints don't match up. The arms and stuff, none of that will match up. It's just 2 totally almost different figures, almost from 2 different factories, it looks like. So instead of kit bashing with something easy like swapping heads and helmets, you have to fodder. And I'm not really too much into that. So they almost make you kind of stuck with these figures. But they are overhyped accessory packs. Be honest with you, they could have just sold the accessory packs and leave these alone. I really wasn't too big fan of these, but then for a week I kind of almost got excited. I'm like, I wonder what they're about. And plus I needed to get them anyway. But for $39.99, I would wait. They asses need to drop down to $25 on Amazon and get busy with them then, because the figures, they're not worth too much. They don't even look like they belong to G.I. Joe Classified, to be quite honest with you. They like they fucking made by Mattel or something, man. Be honest with you, they just don't look like they belong in G.I. Joe Classified. And they get the number 2 on my list, both of their asses. And on my most disappointing figures of 2023, Steel Core. And of course, at number 1, the undisputed champion of ugly. We got by my way Falcon. Yes. And I will say, I've only had this figure for 3 or 4 days. I put it up on my YouTube story, kind of Facebook, that he was $11.99 at Best Buy. I needed him for the 1 through 100. I brought 2. I wanted him anyway. He's a welcomed in my classified family. But once again, a figure that doesn't look like he belongs in classified. I will give him this. He feels quality as far as his plastic. As far as his articulation, how he moves, I messed around with a little bit. Standard G.I. Joe, but just his layout, his mug, it's nothing to it. It's ugly. It doesn't even actually look like Falcon from the movie, or if he's in the comic books or whatnot. As far as his accessories, just bullshit. His backpack, his gun, everything's whack. He has no leg strap. He has nothing, man. And then he has this knife. The best thing probably about him is his knife, with these little jagged pieces taken out, man. But other than that, man, he's not hitting on nothing. He's really ugly, man. He's really not really nothing to look at. Me, I'm a classified purist. You understand me? He'll stand tall on that shelf. He will not put a helmet on or anything like that. We're gonna see that ugly mug. I'm not gonna kick bash him or anything. I'm a classified purist. If this is the figure that they made, like with Flint's ugly ass, then he will stand on my shelf tall too. Now, but anybody doesn't care about that, his body probably could be used in different situations. A guy on Facebook actually put like I think a steel core helmet on him, or some type of helmet on him. He looked pretty dope like that. Maybe one day if I find him cheap just for the green army body, I could do something like that. But the kid's ready to be dissected and cut up. Like for real, surgery with a chainsaw. For real, man. Man, he gets my #1 list. He's the most disappointing. He has the rep to back it up. Nobody wants this guy at all, man. Nobody cares about him. He deserves to be #1. He's been the talk of the most disappointing classified figure all year. Before he came out, before he dropped, his street date dropped, this kid just did not have a good rep. Like the real Falcon in the movie, I guess. I don't know how he moves in the comic book. But he didn't have a good rep, man. And he's one ugly son of a gun, man. And he is #1 on my top 10 G.I. Joe classified 2023. The most disappointing. Everybody, give it up for Falcon. Give it up for Falcon. He won. He won something. He won something. This is probably the most you'll ever see me put him on camera, because he's just not appealing like that. He's not appealing at all. He deserves everything he's getting right now with this camera time. This is a Savage Land. If you can, give me a like, comment, subscribe. Hit me on my Instagram at Geppetto910. Like I said, I have a top 10 of the best G.I. Joe classified of 2023 coming out in a couple of days. I also have an army build so you can see how much I have. With the Cobra Army, we got the Lokesters over here in the blue, and then we got the Pamu, which is Paru Damu over here in the red. I got 2 different armies, but we'll get into all that, man, on that episode. And then also we got top 20 action figures of 2023 coming out, man. So check back with me. And with that being said, until the next time, God bless.